Because when you're with your parents, you can't really go out and come back by 10 p.m. as a lady in an African home. Are you mad? Hey, best friends, welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, hi, my name is Beneri, and on this channel, we talk about leveling up, relationships, and other interesting conversations like this one. So, in today's video, we're going to be answering TikTok questions, and like I said, I was going to make this a series. So, here I am with so many juicy topics, and I think I'm going to be posting a back to back video on answering TikTok questions because I feel like there are so many things that we could just learn, and I could just sit down here and just have a conversation with you guys. So if you're new here and you're wondering what answering TikTok questions is all about, I'm a TikTok influencer or content creator. I really don't like calling myself an influencer, even if I am an influencer. But I'm a content creator on TikTok with over 270,000 followers. And I get so many questions because I talk about relationships, life, and so many things in general. I'm an I talk TikToker, so I talk a lot on TikTok. So I decided to bring the questions here and talk about them because I feel like TikTok don't really give so much room for long videos, and yeah, some questions you need to really answer them so that you don't pass the wrong message because you're not explaining thoroughly and all that. So yeah, that's what answering TikTok questions on YouTube is all about on this channel. So today we're going to be answering a question from someone. So this person said, "Hello, Diva." Yeah, I love when people call me Diva. So yeah, my name is actually Intelligent Diva on TikTok. It's one of my names. So yeah, I just like when people call me Diva. I don't know why. So this person said, "Hello, Diva. I just finished university and I'm concluding my NYSC soon. I've been thinking of moving out of my parents' house to rent my own apartment, but I don't know if it's a good idea. Some people are saying men would rather marry a woman that's staying with her parents." Yeah, I had the same reaction on my face when I first read it because why are we always caring too much about what the men want? Men want this, women should do this so that the men can. I beg, everybody should get out. Sorry, let me continue. Some people are saying men would rather marry a woman that's staying with her parents than someone living alone. Yep. As much as this is very absurd, I've heard this before. There was a tweet about single ladies living alone versus single ladies living with their parents and how men would prefer ladies living with their parents. But honestly, I think that we are in the era where we care less about what people are thinking, especially what men are thinking. Oh, I can't marry a woman that's earning more than me, or I can't marry a woman that already has a car, has a house. I'm so glad that women of these days are calling their bullshit and letting them know that the fact that you don't want this kind of woman is because you're not secured in yourself. So yeah, we're trashing that out because any man that actually don't want to get married to you because you're living alone and he thinks that I don't know what he thinks, but he thinks whatever. Maybe you should be happy that that kind of man is not coming your way because why? Why would you not want to marry someone because they are independent, living alone, earning their own money, they have a car or have a house? Doesn't make sense to me. So dodge the bullet there. In fact, if if I would be able to filter men like that by living alone, I would go and live alone just to filter them out of my life because those kind of men are insecure. They think that being a man is by oppressing a woman. So yeah, doesn't make sense to me. I'm just trying to take that out of the way and also letting us understand that we don't have to conform to the ideology of men that are not secured in their masculinity or are more secured when they are bringing other women down. So, to answer her question, I have an ideology, right? I have what I believe in and what I'm going to do, what I think is right, and all that. But my job when advising someone is not to just tell them what I'm going to do or tell them to do a certain thing. It's for me to lay out the advantages and disadvantages of doing either of those things and allowing them see for themselves and choose for themselves which way they want to go, because at the end of the day it's not about me, it's about them, and they just need my advice and they just want me to explain certain things to them and dissect certain things to them in order for them to make better decisions, right? So I am going to be laying out the advantages of staying by yourself as a single girl, as a single lady. I myself, I'm living alone. I stay by myself. So I'm very experienced, trust me. I think I've been staying by myself for like 3 years now, back to back 3 years now. I've stayed in Lagos by myself. Right now I am in Abuja. So I have a lot to tell you about living alone, the advantages and the disadvantages. And I've also stayed with my parents after university. So also have experience. I also can give you advice and give you the advantages and disadvantages of staying with your parent. So let's get right into it. I think I'm going to start with staying. I think I'm just going to be listing out the advantages and disadvantages of both at the same time, like side by side. You get what I mean? Staying by yourself can be very, very comforting. I would not lie. You'll be in your own space and in your own element, and you'll be able to understand yourself, be able to understand who you are. You know, when you're with your parents, right, no matter how independent you are financially, you still have to abide by the rules of your family. You still have to abide by the rules of your parents. Your parents don't want you to be out by 10 p.m. You can't be out by 10 p.m. You have to come back. You have a curfew. You get like you're still answerable to them. Not that you're not answerable to them when you're away, especially if you're a lady and you're not yet married. In Nigeria, you kind of are still under your parents as a lady. As long as you're not yet married, you're still under your parents as a lady in Nigeria, right? As far as I know. Or maybe it's just my family, but yeah. So you're still answerable to them in some way, but what I'm trying to say is that you have the freedom to be yourself, right? I feel like being alone and living alone would test who you are, who you truly are, because nobody's here to police you. In fact, I feel like if talking about men self and what they want and what they prefer, if we want to go there, I feel like men should even go for women that have stayed by themselves, because women that have stayed by themselves, understand who they are. Like when you're by yourself, like I said, it gets to test who you are. Like you're finding out who you are. You're getting to know yourself the more, what you want from life, what you don't want, what you hate, what you need to shed, some mentality that you need to get rid of. You actually have space to grow and be in your own element and understand yourself. You would know if you're even a good person. Honestly, you know if you're a good girl, because when you're with your parents, you can't really go out and come back by 10 p.m. as a lady in an African home. Are you mad? You can't even try it. At least in my own house, you can't try it. But living alone, you have the power to come at any time. So now, if you're coming early and you're deciding not to sleep over at a guy's house, you would know that it's because this is my moral standard. I don't want to stay over in a guy's house. That's your moral standard. Nobody's pushing you to not stay over. Nobody's calling you to come home. Nobody's saying, "Where are you? You can't be out by this time." Nobody's calling your phone, but you're telling yourself, "I can't stay here. I can't sleep over. I have to come back." So you're understanding that, oh, this is me, this is my principles, this is what I want to do, this is who I want to be. I mean, so yeah, you would get to understand yourself. You would get to set principles for yourself, and y- you get to shed some principles too. And that's just in knowing yourself. That's in discovering who you are and basically what you want from life. Because nobody's here to tell you, oh, you can't do this, or you can't read this book, or you can't choose this path. Especially when you start paying your own bills, that's when you know if you're really a humble person, or if you're rude, or if you're an obedient child, or if you were just oppressed and forced to obey your parents. That's when you know that, okay, I am doing this because I want to do it, not because I have to do it. Because if I don't do it, they're not going to pay my school fees or something. You're going to really know who you are and discover yourself, like I said. So that's one very big advantage. That's one of the biggest advantage with staying alone for me. So I said I was going to do this side by side, right? So with staying with your parents, you cannot really discover yourself that much. Like, let's be sincere, no matter how open your parents are, they still have a very big say in your life and in the decisions that you make, as long as you're in their roof, under their roof. I mean, as long as you're under their roof, there are certain things you can't do. You can't fully express yourself, let's be truthful. Like, I read a quote saying that Yes, staying in your parents' house is free, but you're paying with your mental health. And I dare to say or add to the quote that you're also paying with your growth and knowing who you really are. Because in some way, these people would influence you, the opinions around you would influence your decisions. And you wouldn't really have the space to be in your element fully because your parents are there, your siblings, people come. But if you're living alone, the people you want in your space are the people that are going to be in your space. The people that you want in your own, the energy you want around you are the energy that are going to be around you. But with your parents, you can't really determine who's coming to visit your brother or your sister or your parents or whose opinion is flying in the air. Do you get? You can't really decide so many things. You can't really lock yourself or shut yourself out and be with yourself to discover yourself, right? Regarding this point, I would 100% recommend staying by yourself for a while. In fact, I am a very big advocate, like I said earlier, for people, human beings, whether female or male, living by themselves at least for 1 year before getting married. Because I feel like it's very important for you to know yourself, discover yourself before choosing a life partner. Then you know who to choose. Do you get? You can't just be choosing somebody without knowing who you are. Know who you are first so that you can know who to pick to go through life with you. Am I making sense? I know I'm making sense, so let's continue. Um, One disadvantage of staying alone is that you get to pay your bills yourself. Well, not in all cases, Sha. For the longest time, I think the only time I actually really got to pay bills by myself is if you're a lady, it's a lady that's asking this question. So I'm going to also be assuming that I have guys watching me. So if you're a lady, and your parents are probably like a lot of parents, they will not really leave you alone when you start living by yourself. Like when it comes to financial help and all that, you can still call home and say, I'm hungry, oh, I need money to pay NEPA bills, I need money to do this, I need money to do that, and then they would give you money. But at the end of the day, you're still going to understand the dynamics of living alone because even if someone sends you money, you're still going to be the one to have to pay the rent, and you're still going to be the one to have to pay NEPA bill. You're still going to be the one to pay for water. You're still going to be the one to buy foodstuffs in the house. So you're going to know how much is going into feeding yourself in a month. When I started living alone, I remember wondering how the hell my parents were doing this because how did they feed four children? Like how did they feed four children and they were satisfied? Like we the children were satisfied. How did they feed four children to satisfaction? Because no, the money I spent the first month on myself, feeding myself, getting fruits, groceries, and when I became sick, taking care of myself, honestly, it's not easy. And I think it's like I said, if we want to go to the whole who a man should even pick, I think it should be a lady that is even staying by herself because she's going to understand the dynamics of living alone. Because she's going to understand the dynamics of taking care of herself and taking care of other people. So she's going to understand as a man where you're coming from. She's going to appreciate you as a man when you're bringing money because she's going to be like, it's not easy to feed all these people. It's not easy to feed his children. It's not easy to feed me. It's not easy to pay the bills. She's going to actually appreciate you more because she knows where you're coming from. So, as a guy, if you're going to live alone, the disadvantage is that people would leave you alone. Like people will stop sending you money because they feel like, oh, you're now man enough to stay by yourself. You're man enough to pay your bills. You're not going to be comfortable calling home and asking for money because you're by yourself. And again, people are going to feel the need to build you. They're going to build the hell out of you because they're like, you're living alone. She has an apartment. She has everything figured out. Her life is so this and that. And people are just going to build you unnecessarily because they feel like you're living alone and you have everything figured out. So, yeah, that's also one disadvantage. I wanted adding insecurity to one of the numbers, or maybe that would be another discussion because yes, it's pretty risky. So if you're a lady and you're living alone, you have to be very careful where you get a house. It has to be very secured because to be honest, you're by yourself and you're a lady. Let's be real. We don't have so much strength, except if you learned karate and you know how to fight like me. Maybe you can handle yourself, but there are just some people out there that might want to take advantage of the fact that you're staying by yourself. So you have to pick a very secure place and you have to be very careful, and you shouldn't move very late at night, honestly, especially if your place is not secured. I wouldn't advise that. Don't move late at night. You just have to be very careful. Like, you have to be very careful. You can't be leaving like a guy would leave and just come back at any time and all that. You're a lady and you have so much to lose if you lose guard. So yeah, you have to be very, very careful and very, very cautious living by yourself. But all these things, all the disadvantages I have said, to me is not compared to what you gain living by yourself. Like, I would rather still pay my house rent. My house rent is expiring soon, and I am feeling the weight because it's not easy repaying and all that. But yeah, regardless of the house rent and the financial burden on me, I would pick staying by myself a million times over staying at my parents, because who I am and who I have become, and even the things that I've achieved, I probably would not be able to have achieved them if I had stayed back home. I am team living alone, like I said. So, with all the advantages and disadvantages I've mentioned, if you want to live alone or if you want to stay in your parents' house, you can pick which one you want to go for. But yeah, I've listed the advantages and disadvantages, and I hope with these few points of mine, you can make your decisions. So I think we've come to the end of this video. And if you're living alone, let me know if this is something that you would recommend. And if you're not living alone, let me see if not living alone and living with your parents is something you would actually recommend. But as for me, please pack your bags, leave your parents' house, and go and live your life, discover yourself, and be your full self. Like I said, we've come to the end of this video. Thanks for staying this long. If you're not yet subscribed to this channel, please do. We have a good time here and you're going to enjoy yourself. Um, um, yeah, I think that's all. Oh, and before you go, don't forget to stay safe, not stupid. You are enough, and God has given you everything you need to succeed. Bye. Love you guys.